pain pulled Sua Kim back to consciousness. Her head hurt. Her right arm felt like it was on fire. The taste of blood filled her mouth. She opened her eyes to darkness, broken only by the weak red glow of emergency lights. The escape pod's main systems were dead. The air smelled of burnt metal and plastic. Sua tried to move. Pain shot through her body. She gasped and waited for it to pass. "Systems check," she said, her voice rough. No answer came from the pod's computer. Sua took a slow breath. She was alive. That was a start. Her mind flashed back to the attack. The research ship Horizon had been collecting data in a neutral system when the Drax warships appeared. There had been no warning, no time to run. Just alarms, screams, and the captain's order to abandon ship. Sua had been in engineering when it happened. She remembered Chief Engineer Tay pushing her into an escape pod. "Go," he had yelled. Then the doors closed, and the pod launched. She had watched through the small window as the Horizon broke apart. The other escape pods. The Drax ships had targeted them. She had seen them explode, one after another. Her pod had been hit too. The systems had failed. She remembered the pod spinning, falling toward a planet below. Then nothing until now. Was she the only one left? The thought made her stomach tighten. Sua was just a junior engineer. She had been on the Horizon for only 3 months. This was her first deep space assignment after finishing training. She was not supposed to be in this situation. She was not trained for survival. Something beeped weakly to her right. Sua turned her head and saw the pod's backup system. The small screen glowed with a message. Emergency power, 12% life support, critical oxygen remaining, 6 hours location, unknown crew survival, probability, 1.8% 6 hours. That's all she had unless she did something. Sua pushed herself up. The pain made her eyes water, but she kept moving. She needed to see what she was dealing with. The pod was designed for one person. It was small, just big enough for a seat, some supplies and basic controls. Now it was partly crushed. One wall had caved in. Wires hung from the ceiling. The main control panel was cracked, but the emergency kit was still there. Sua pulled it open. Inside, she found a flashlight, a small medical kit, some food and water packs, and a basic tool set. She grabbed the flashlight and turned it on. The eye beam cut through the darkness. She could now see the full damage to the pod. It was bad, but maybe not hopeless. Sua was an engineer. She understood systems, how they worked, how to fix them. If the backup power system was still running, maybe she could reroute it, get more systems online. She looked at her injured arm. It hurt, but she could move her fingers. Not broken then, just badly bruised. She used the medical kit to clean, a cut on her forehead and wrap her bruised ribs. Then she got to work. First, she needed to know where she was. Sua crawled to the small window. She wiped away dirt and looked out. What she saw made her breath catch. The pod had landed on the edge of a cliff. Beyond the cliff stretched a vast landscape of red rock and strange crystal-like formations that caught the light of 2 distant suns. The sky was a deep purple, with clouds that seemed to glow from within. This was not a human colony world. She had never seen reports of a planet like this. Sua turned back to the pod. She needed to focus on survival. She opened the control panel and began to trace the power routing. Many circuits were fried, but the main power cell was intact. With the right connections, she might be able to get more systems working. 2 hours later, Sua had managed to reroute power to the pod's environmental controls and the communication system. The air was getting cleaner. The temperature was rising, from the freezing cold to something bearable. But the communication system brought bad news. It was working, but there was no signal. No response to her distress call. Nothing but static. Sua looked at the updated information on the screen. Emergency power, 34%, rerouted. Life support, stable, 48 hours. Oxygen recycling, online location, unknown. Unable to access navigation database. External environment, toxic. Atmosphere, temperature, 10°C to 45°C daily cycle. Crew survival probability, 17.3% better but still not good. Sua knew she needed to leave the pod. She needed to find more supplies, maybe parts to improve her situation. But the toxic atmosphere was a problem. The pod had one emergency suit. It was designed for short excursions in hostile environments. The display said it had enough oxygen for 4 hours. That would have to be enough. Sua put on the suit. It was too big for her small frame, but it would work. She gathered the tools she might need and prepared to open the pod door. Before she did, she noticed something under the broken control panel. A case had come loose during the crash. Inside was the device her research team had been working on. It was about the size of her hand with a complex array of circuits. It was the prototype universal translator. The research team had been excited about it. They said it could do more than just translate alien languages. It could decode neural patterns, even interfere with them. Some had whispered it could be a weapon against the Dracs, whose communication was based on neural signals rather than sound. The device was damaged, but Sua took it anyway. It was valuable, and maybe it could be fixed. With the device safely stored in a pocket, Sua opened the pod door. The harsh landscape greeted her. The wind carried dust that scratched at her suit. The gravity was slightly stronger than Earth standard, making each step an effort, but Sua was alive and she intended to stay that way. She began to explore the area around the pod. She found pieces of the horizon scattered across the rocky ground. Most were too damaged to be useful, but she collected what she could. As the first sun began to set, Sua made a discovery that changed everything. Behind a large rock formation, partly buried in the ground, was another escape pod. Her heart raced as she approached it. Could someone else have survived? But the pod was empty. It had landed better than hers, though. Its systems were more intact. Sua realized she could salvage parts from it, maybe even transfer to it if its life support was better. As she began to check the pod's systems, Sua noticed something on its external sensors. Movement, about 1 kilometer away. The sensors couldn't identify what was moving, but it was large and heading in her direction. Sua wasn't alone on this planet. She grabbed what she could from the second pod and hurried back to her own. She sealed the door just as the second sun set, plunging the landscape into darkness broken only by the glow of the crystal formations. In the dim light of her pod, Sua looked at the survival probability on the screen. It had risen to 23.7%. Not good odds, but better than before. And Sua Kim had never believed in odds anyway. She set to work on the universal translator device. If she could repair it, maybe she could send a better distress signal, or at least understand what was sharing this planet with her. Outside, something moved in the darkness, waiting. 7 days passed since Sua Kim crashed on the alien planet. Each day followed the same pattern. She would wake at first light, put on the survival suit, and search for useful items from the scattered wreckage. When the second sun rose and the heat became too much, she would return to her pod to work on repairs. Today was different. The universal translator device finally showed signs of life. "Come on," Sua whispered as she connected the last wire. The device hummed and its small screen lit up with a weak blue glow. Sua smiled for the first time in days. It wasn't fixed completely, but it was working, sort of. She had combined parts from both escape pods to create a more stable living space. Her new home had better air filters, stronger walls, and enough power to last for weeks instead of days. The computer now gave her a 41% chance of survival. Sua looked at the notes she had made about the strange planet. The air outside was toxic, but not immediately deadly. The temperature changed wildly between day and night. Food and water were her biggest problems. She had only 3 days of supplies left. But the most interesting thing was the crystal formations. They grew everywhere, glowing softly at night. When Sua brought a small piece into the pod, she noticed it seemed to react to the electronics. The lights would flicker whenever she placed the crystal near any powered device. Now, with the translator partly working, she had an idea. Sua connected the crystal to the translator's power source. The effect was immediate. The blue light on the screen grew stronger. The device's range, which had been limited to a few meters, suddenly extended much further. The screen filled with strange patterns. At first, Sua thought it was just random noise. Then she realized these were signals. The translator was picking up something. Sua adjusted the settings, trying to make sense of the patterns. They weren't radio signals or any communication method she recognized. They seemed more like brainwaves, neural patterns. The research team had designed the translator to decode the Drax neural communication system. Could that be what she was seeing? A chill ran down her spine. If these were Drax signals, it meant they were here on this planet. Sua carefully adjusted the translator, trying to decode the patterns. The device wasn't fully repaired, but with the crystal amplifying the signal, it started to translate some of the neural patterns into basic concepts. Base, establish, minerals, report, just fragments, but enough to confirm her fear. The Drax had a base somewhere on this planet. They were looking for something, minerals, probably the same crystals Sua had found. She needed to be more careful now. If the Drax found her, she wouldn't stand a chance. But curiosity pushed fear aside. Sua had never seen actual Drax communications before. No human had ever decoded their neural language. This was a chance to learn about the enemy that had been fighting humanity for 20 years. Sua spent the next day improving the translator and collecting more crystals. Each crystal made the signal stronger and clearer. By nightfall, she had set up a small array of crystals around the pod, all connected to the translator. The signals became clearer. Forward base. Gamma reports mineral extraction proceeding as planned. Crystal resonance matches specifications. Request additional workers for mining operation. Locals non-threatening. Locals. There were native life forms on this planet. Sua had seen strange tracks around her pod, but no actual creatures. She had assumed they were just animals. More signals came through. High Command acknowledges request. New directive. Search for human vessel remains. Reports indicate escape pod trajectory to this sector. Any surviving humans must be found. They were looking for her. Sua's hands shook as she adjusted the translator again. She needed to know more about their plans, their location, how many Drax were on the planet. A new signal appeared, stronger than the others. It seemed to be a general, broadcast to all Drax in the area. Attention all units. This is Commander First Rank. Our mission here is vital to the survival of our species. The mineral crystals on this planet may hold the key to saving our home system. The humans possess technology that could help us harness the crystal's power, but they refuse to share it. We must find any human survivors and extract their knowledge. Remember, our families depend on our success. 15 cycles remain before the stellar event reaches critical stage. We cannot fail. Sua sat back, stunned. This didn't match anything she had been told about the Drax. They weren't supposed to be trying to save their home. They were supposed to be conquerors. Aliens who attacked human colonies without reason or mercy. But this message suggested something else entirely. A dying star? A desperate race trying to save their civilization? Sua checked the translator again, wondering if there was a mistake in the decoding. But as more messages came through, the picture became clearer. The Drax were mining the crystals because they needed them to stabilize their home star. They believed humans had technology that could help them. Was that why they attacked human ships? Were they looking for technology, not conquest? Sua remembered snippets of conversation from the research team. They had been excited about the universal translator, saying it could be the key to ending the war. She had assumed they meant it could be used as a weapon against the Drax. What if they had meant something else? What if they had discovered the truth about why the Drax were fighting? A new signal interrupted her thoughts. Patrol 7 reports possible human technology signature at coordinates 278403. Investigation team dispatched. Sua checked her map. Those coordinates were less than 2 kilometers from her position. They had found one of the escape pods. Sua quickly gathered her essential supplies. The translator, food, water, tools, and several crystals. She needed to move, to find a new hiding place before the Drax traced the pod back to her shelter. As she prepared to leave, a final message came through the translator. Commander to all units. Remember protocol for human contact. Capture if possible. We need their knowledge, not their deaths. The future of our species depends on understanding their technology. Sua paused. The message didn't sound like it came from a mindless enemy bent on destruction. It sounded like desperation. The same desperation she felt trying to survive on this harsh planet. With the translator secured in her pack, Sua slipped out of the shelter. The twin moons lit the landscape in an eerie blue glow. The crystal formations sparkled like stars brought down to Earth. In the distance, she saw lights moving. The Drax search party. Sua moved in the opposite direction, keeping low and using the rock formations for cover. But her mind was racing with new questions. If the Drax were fighting for survival, not conquest, did that change anything? If they just wanted help, could there be a way to end the war without more bloodshed? As she made her way across the alien landscape, Sua realized she might be holding the key to more than just her own survival. The translator, and what she had learned with it, could change everything, if she survived long enough to tell anyone. Sua had been hiding in a small cave for 3 days. The cave was hidden behind a large cluster of crystals. From here, she could watch the Drax search parties without being seen. She counted at least 12 Drax soldiers. They moved with purpose, scanning the area with devices that looked like the universal translator but more advanced. They were still searching for her. Sua's food was almost gone. She had only half a water pack left. Soon she would have to leave the safety of the cave to find more supplies. The translator continued to pick up Drax communications. Sua learned more about them each day. They called themselves the Vike, not Drax. That was the human name for them. Their home system was dying. A star was becoming unstable, threatening to destroy their 3 home planets. They believed humans had technology that could help save their worlds. They had tried to communicate at first, but something had gone wrong. The first contact had ended in violence, and now both sides were locked in a war neither fully understood. Sua watched as a new group of Drax, no, Vike, approached her hiding place. There were 3 of them. Unlike the others, they weren't wearing full battle armor. They seemed to be scientists, carrying equipment to study the crystals. One of them came very close to her cave. Sua held her breath as the Vike examined a large crystal formation just outside. The alien was tall, with 4 arms and skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Its head was smooth with no visible eyes, but with sensory organs that pulsed with light. The Vike scientist touched the crystal, and the formation lit up brightly. Sua gasped in surprise. The sound was small, but in the quiet cave it seemed loud. The Vike turned toward the cave entrance. It had heard her. Sua backed deeper into the cave. There was nowhere to run. The Vike approached slowly, a device in one of its 4 hands scanning ahead. This was it. She would be captured. But instead of running or hiding, Sua made a decision that would change everything. She took out the translator and adjusted it to broadcast instead of just receive. As the Vike entered the cave, Sua sent a simple neural message through the translator. I am not your enemy. I want to talk. The Vike froze. Its color changed from the shifting blues and greens to a solid yellow. Sua didn't know what that meant, but the alien wasn't attacking. It was just standing there, its head tilted in what seemed like confusion. Slowly, it raised its device. Lights flickered across its surface. The translator in Sua's hand received the response. Human speaks our language? How is this possible? Sua took a deep breath and sent another message. I have a translator. I know about your dying star. I want to understand. The Vike's color shifted again, this time to a deep purple. It turned and made sounds to the others outside. Soon, all 3 Vike scientists were in the cave, surrounding Sua but keeping their distance. The first Vike sent another message. I am senior researcher. You will come with us to Commander. Sua nodded. She had no choice. But something told her. This might be her only chance to make a difference. If she could talk to their commander, explain the misunderstanding between their species, maybe there was hope. The Vike led her out of the cave. They didn't restrain her or take her translator. They seemed more curious than hostile. As they walked, Sua used the translator to learn more about them. The senior researcher was called something that translated roughly as seeker of hidden patterns. It was too complex for Sua to say, so in her mind, she called him Dak. Dak explained that they had been on this planet for 30 days, mining the crystals that could help stabilize their dying star. They had detected the human ship entering the system and assumed it was an attack force. We did not come to fight, Sua explained, through the translator. We were a research ship. We study new worlds. Dak's color shifted to a soft blue. That explains the lack of weapons. We made a mistake. After walking for an hour, they reached the Vike base. It was larger than Sua expected, with structures built into the rock face of a mountain. At least 50 Vike moved around the base, some in armor, others in simpler coverings that seemed to mark them as workers or scientists. Several Vike stopped to stare at Sua. Humans and Vike had been fighting for 20 years, but few on either side had seen the other up close. Dak led Sua to a large structure in the center of the base. Inside, a Vike larger than the others sat at a control station. Its skin rippled with patterns of red and gold. This had to be the commander. The commander looked up as they entered. Its color changed rapidly when it saw Sua. What is this? The commander's neural message came through the translator. Why is the human not restrained? Dak's color pulsed in. Response. This human speaks our language. It has a device that translates neural patterns. The commander rose and approached Sua. It was almost twice her height. Up close, she could see patterns in its skin that looked like writing or symbols. How did you get this technology? The commander asked. Sua explained about the research ship, the translator prototype, and what she had learned about the Vakes situation. There has been a terrible mistake, she said. Our people don't know you need help. They think you are invaders. The commander was silent for a long moment. Then it sent a message not just to Sua, but to all the Vike in the room. 20 cycles we have fought the humans, believing they withheld technology that could save our worlds. If what this small human says is true, the war has been for nothing. Sua nodded. Many humans have died. Many Vike too. All because we couldn't talk to each other. Other Vike in the room began sending messages, their colors shifting rapidly. Some seemed angry, others confused. Not all of them believed her. One Vike stepped forward, its skin a dark red. How do we know this isn't a trick? The humans are clever warriors. The commander turned to this Vike. If it were a trick, why would one small human come alone? Where is the attack force? Where are the weapons? The red Vike had no answer. The commander turned back to Sua. If what you say is true, what do you propose we do? Before Sua could answer, alarms sounded throughout the base. A Vike rushed in, its color a bright, alarming orange. Commander, human ships have entered the system. 3 vessels, heavily armed. The commander's color darkened. They have come, for you, it said to Sua. Or they've come to fight, Sua said. They won't know I'm here. They won't know we're talking. The commander looked at the incoming data. They will reach orbit in 6 hours. We must prepare defenses. No, Sua said, her voice urgent. No more fighting. I can contact them. I can explain. The commander looked at her for a long moment. Then it turned to Dak. Take the human to the communication array. If it can stop this attack, we will listen to its proposal. Dak led Sua quickly through the base to a tall structure with dishes, pointed at the sky. The human ships were coming. She had hours, maybe less, to prevent another battle in a war that never should have started. As she worked to modify the translator to broadcast to the human ships, Sua realized how strange her situation was. No one had expected her to survive the crash. Now she might be the only person who could save both humans and Vike from destroying each other. She looked at Dak, who was helping her connect the translator to the Vike communication system. "I'm going to need your help," she said. Dak's color shifted to a calm blue. "Tell me what to do." Captain June Park stood on the bridge of the UEF Defender, staring at the planet on the main screen. His ship, along with 2 other battle cruisers, had entered the system after picking up a faint distress signal from the research vessel Horizon. "Any response to our hails?" Captain Park asked. "No, sir," said the communications officer. "But we're still picking up the distress beacon. It's coming from the surface of the planet." Security Chief Han stepped forward. He was a tall, serious man, with a face that rarely showed emotion. "Sensors show a Drax base on the northern continent," Chief Han said. "At least 50 life signs. They must have shot down the Horizon." Captain Park nodded. It was the same story they had seen too many times before. The Drax attacked a human ship, then set up a base to salvage the technology. Any survivors would be captured or killed. "Prepare landing teams," Captain Park ordered. "We'll secure the crash site first, then deal with the Drax base." "Sir," the communications officer suddenly called out. "We're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. It's on a human emergency channel." Captain Park frowned. "Put it through." A voice crackled over the speakers. It was filled with static, but clearly human. "This is Junior Engineer Sua Kim of the research vessel Horizon. Please respond. This is urgent." The bridge crew looked at each other in surprise. A survivor? After 3 weeks? "This is Captain June Park of the UEF Defender. We received your distress call. Are you safe? Are there other survivors?" There was a pause, then Sua's voice came back, stronger now. "Captain, listen carefully. I'm at the Drax base." "She's been captured," Chief Han interrupted. "They're forcing her to contact us." "But I'm not a prisoner," Sua continued. "The aliens, they call themselves the Vike, not Drax. There's been a terrible misunderstanding between our species." Captain Park exchanged looks with his officers. This wasn't what they expected to hear. "Engineer Kim, are you under duress?" he asked carefully. "No, Captain. I'm free to speak. I've been communicating with the Vike using a translator device from the Horizon. They aren't our enemies. They're desperate. Their home star is dying, and they thought we were withholding technology that could help them." Chief Han shook his head. "This is clearly a Drax trick. They've brainwashed her or are threatening her." But Captain Park wasn't so sure. There was something in Sua's voice. Urgency, but not fear. "The Vike won't attack unless we do," Sua continued. "I've arranged a meeting on neutral ground. Please, Captain. Before more people die on both sides, just talk to them." Captain Park thought for a moment. In 20 years of war with the Drax, the Vike, no one had ever reported communication with them. Was it possible this young engineer had achieved what no diplomat or military officer had? "Where is this meeting to take place?" he asked. "There's a flat area 5 kilometers south of the Vike base. We can meet there in 3 hours. Just you and maybe 1 or 2 officers. The Vike commander will bring the same number." Chief Han stepped closer to Captain Park. "Sir, this is almost certainly a trap. We should strike now while we have the advantage of surprise." Other officers nodded in agreement. After 20 years of war, no one trusted the Drax. But Captain Park had fought in too many battles. He had seen too many people die. If there was even a small chance to end the fighting, "Prepare a shuttle," he ordered. "Chief Han, you'll accompany me to the surface and prepare a security team as backup, but they'll remain at a distance." "Sir," Chief Han protested, "the risk is mine to take," Captain Park finished firmly. "If this is a trap, the Defender will be in orbit ready to extract us or provide support." 3 hours later, Captain Park and Chief Han stood on the planet's surface. They wore environmental suits to protect them from the toxic atmosphere. Behind them, their shuttle waited with engines running, ready for a quick escape if needed. In the distance, they saw movement. 3 figures approached, 2 tall Vike and 1 small human. As they got closer, Captain Park could see that the human was indeed a young woman in a makeshift environmental suit. She looked tired but determined. The Vike on either side of her were tall, 4-armed beings with skin that shifted colors like moving rainbows. "Captain Park," Sua said, her voice coming through the suit's communication system. Thank you for coming. This is Commander First Rank of the Vike Expedition and Senior Researcher Dak. The taller Vike nodded its head in what seemed like a greeting. Its skin flashed patterns of gold and blue. Chief Han's hand moved to his weapon. They can't speak our language. How do we communicate? Sua held up a device. This is the universal translator the research team was developing. It can decode and translate the Vike neural communication patterns. With the help of the crystal formations on this planet, I've modified it to work both ways. She turned to the Vike and the device lit up. The commander's skin patterns changed and the translator converted them to words. I greet you, human leader. The small one says you did not know of our plight. Is this true? Captain Park looked at Sua, then back at the alien commander. We know nothing about any plight. We only know that your people have attacked our ships and colonies for 20 years. Sua translated, and the commander's color darkened. We believed you were withholding technology we needed to save our home system. Our star grows unstable. In 15 cycles, it will destroy our 3 home worlds. The crystals on planets like this one can help stabilize it, but we lack the scientific understanding to use them properly. Captain Park frowned. And you thought attacking us would make us share this technology? Technology we didn't even know you needed? The commander's colors shifted to something like red and orange. Our first contact team attempted to explain our situation. Your ships fired upon them. We assumed you understood and were refusing to help. That's not, Captain Park began, but Chief Han cut him off. This is ridiculous. They attacked us first. Everyone knows that. Sua stepped forward. Both sides think the other fired first. After 20 years of war, does it even matter anymore? What matters now is finding a way forward. She turned to the Vike. Show them. The one called Dak stepped forward. It held a small device that projected an image in the air between them. A star system with 3 planets. The star pulsed unnaturally, sending out waves of energy that battered the planets. This is happening now, the commander said through the translator. Billions of my people will die unless the star is stabilized. The crystal formations on this planet and others like it have properties that can help, but we need more advanced knowledge to harness them properly. Captain Park studied the projection. It didn't look like a fake, and if it was true, we have scientists who might be able to help, he said slowly. But I can't make that decision alone. I would need to contact Earth. Chief Han grabbed Park's arm. Sir, you can't seriously be considering helping the Dracs after all they've done. Sua looked at both men. Captain, I've spent weeks learning about the Vike. They're not the monsters we thought they were. They're desperate, trying to save their civilization, just like we would be in their place. Captain Park looked at the young engineer. She had survived against impossible odds, and instead of hiding or giving up, she had tried to understand the enemy. She had done what no one else had even thought to try. He turned to Chief Han. If we have a chance to end this war, don't we have to take it? How many more people have to die on both sides? Before Chief Han could answer, Sua stepped forward, with the translator in her hands. There's one more thing I can show you, she said. The translator can do more than just convert words. It can share experiences directly. She held up the device, which now glowed brightly, amplified by crystals she had attached to it. It will only last for a minute or two before overloading, but it might be the only way to truly understand each other. Captain Park hesitated, then nodded. Do it. Sua activated the translator at full power. A field of energy expanded from it, surrounding all of them, humans and Vike alike. And suddenly, Captain Park could feel what it was like to be Vike. Saw their dying world through their eyes, felt their desperation, their fear for their children's future. He understood their confusion when humans had first responded with violence to their pleas for help. At the same time, he knew the Vike were experiencing human thoughts, the shock and grief of unprovoked attacks, the loss of colonies, the 2 decades of war. For one brief moment, there was true understanding between species. The translator device sparked and went dark. The connection between human and Vike minds broke. Everyone stood in silence, processing what they had just experienced. Captain Park looked at the Vike commander with new eyes. He no longer saw an enemy alien. He saw a leader carrying the weight of billions of lives fighting for the survival of an entire civilization. Chief Han's hand had moved away from his weapon. His face showed confusion and wonder. I felt their fear, he said quietly. Their home. It's really dying. The Vike commander's skin rippled with deep blue patterns. The translator, though damaged, still worked enough to convert the neural signals to words. Now we understand each other, human captain. The small one was right. This war was a mistake born of fear and misunderstanding. Captain Park nodded. We need to end it. Today. He turned to Sua, who was trying to fix the overloaded translator. Engineer Kim, you've done the impossible. You've given us a chance for peace. Sua looked up from the device. Her face was tired, but her eyes were bright. The translator is damaged, but I can repair it. We just need time. You'll have it, Captain Park said. He touched his communication device. Park to Defender. Stand down all weapons. I'm opening a direct channel to Earth Command. Over the next few hours, an agreement took shape. The Vike would cease all attacks on human ships and colonies. In return, human scientists would help the Vike understand how to use the crystal technology to stabilize their dying star. But more importantly, they would share all communications and translator technology to ensure no misunderstandings could happen again. Captain Park sent the agreement to Earth Command. It would take time for the full peace to be established, but the fighting would stop now. 6 months later, Sua Kim stood in the Grand Hall of the United Earth Council. The hall was packed with council members, military leaders, and media representatives. On one side of the hall stood a group of Vike dignitaries, their skin shifting with complex patterns of blue and gold. Sua had spent the last months traveling between Earth and the Vike home system, helping to build better translators and establish communication protocols. She had become the key link between the two species. Now she was about to present the final peace agreement and a bold new plan. The council leader called the meeting to order. Engineer Sua Kim, you have the floor. Sua stepped forward. She was no longer the scared junior engineer who had crashed on an alien planet. She stood tall and spoke with confidence. Council member, 6 months ago I was the sole survivor of the research vessel Horizon. No one expected me to live. The ship's computer gave me a 1.8% chance of survival. She smiled. I've never been good at following the odds. This earned a small laugh from the audience. What I discovered on that planet changed everything we thought we knew about the Vike, the aliens we called Drax. They weren't mindless attackers. They were desperate. Their home star is dying, and they believed we had technology that could save them. Sua gestured to the Vike representatives. The war that cost so many lives on both sides was based on a simple misunderstanding. When they tried to ask for help, we thought they were attacking. When we defended ourselves, they thought we were refusing to help. She activated a display showing the Vike home system. The star at its center pulsed unnaturally, sending out waves of deadly energy. Their star will reach critical instability in 14 years. Without intervention, 3 planets with billions of intelligent beings will be destroyed. She changed the display to show the crystal formations from the planet where she had crashed. These crystals have unique properties. They can absorb and redirect energy on a stellar scale. Our scientists and Vike researchers have been working together. We now believe we can use this technology to stabilize their star. Sua took a deep breath. Here came the challenging part. I am proposing a joint human-Vike mission, a ship called the Concord, crewed by both species, with a mission to create and deploy a crystal-based stellar stabilization system. Murmurs filled the hall. It was an ambitious proposal. 6 months ago, the two species had been at war. Now she wanted them to work together on a mission that had never been attempted before. A council member stood. Engineer Kim, while your achievements are remarkable, this plan seems too ambitious. Can we trust the Vike to work alongside us after 20 years of war? Sua nodded to Captain Park, who stood nearby. He had been her strongest supporter in the military. I have worked alongside the Vike for 6 months, Captain Park said. I have found them to be honorable and committed to peace. More importantly, this mission benefits both species. The stellar stabilization technology could one day save human worlds as well. Another council member spoke up. And what do our new allies think of this plan? The lead Vike representative stepped forward. The translator converted its neural patterns to a calm, measured voice. We owe our future to engineer Sua Kim. When no other human would listen, she made the effort to understand. Yes, my people are ready to work alongside humans to save our worlds and build a lasting peace between our species. The council debated for hours. Sua answered countless questions about the technology, the mission plan, the risks. Finally, they called for a vote. The result was not unanimous, but it was enough. The mission was approved. 2 months later, Sua stood on the bridge of the Concord. The ship was the first of its kind, designed by both human and Vike engineers, with systems that could be operated by either species. Captain Park sat in the command chair. Beside him, Dak served as first officer, its skin shifting with excited patterns of blue and green. Sua was now the ship's chief communications officer, responsible for ensuring humans and Vike understood each other perfectly. As the crew made final preparations for departure, Sua looked around the bridge. Humans and Vike worked side by side, no longer enemies but partners in an historic mission. The ship's new AI spoke. All systems ready for departure. Mission success probability, 58.4%. Sua smiled. Not great odds, but better than the 1.8% chance of survival she'd been given on that escape pod. Captain Park turned to her. Not bad odds considering what we're attempting. We've beaten worse, Sua said. The captain nodded and gave the order. Take us out. The Concorde moved away from Earth's orbital dock. Its engines powered up and soon it jumped to faster than light speed, carrying the hopes of two civilizations toward a shared future. As the stars streaked past the viewports, Sua thought about the strange journey that had brought her here. From a terrified junior engineer given no chance of survival, to the person who had changed the course of two species. No one had expected her to survive that crash landing. No one had known she would save them all, but sometimes the most unlikely person becomes the one who changes everything. Sua Kim looked ahead, ready for whatever challenges waited among the stars. The journey of peace between humans and Vike was just beginning, and she would be there every step of the way. The end